if you go in and you register into Cengage, then you will be able to access all your Cengage books. But if you only have one Cengage book, and the book that we're going to be using in here is Engineering Fundamentals. Looks like this. I'll put it on the document cam so you guys can see it a little better over in Enid. It is a Cengage book, and even though we won't be doing online homework, we will be using the book, okay? So if you can opt out of the unlimited and just purchase the book, or you can go online and find the book in a couple other places, whichever way you want to do it. If you have more than one Cengage book, for example, my engineering physics class, this is the way to go. You want to be in the unlimited, but I know some of you, this may be your only Cengage book. And if it is your only Cengage book, then I would opt out of the unlimited and find, and either just buy the book through Cengage on the one book option, or find it online somewhere. Okay, but we will be using the book because I want you to go the cheapest route you can. For those of you that are in engineering physics and calc, this is the cheapest way to go. I mean, you get all three books, and then in my engineering physics class, of course, I have multiple books. Now, even though some of you aren't on an engineering track, don't worry about it. Because basically what we're going to do is we are going to explore a whole bunch of science and technology tracks. Hopefully by the end of this class, you'll have an idea of which discipline you want to go into, where you want to go, whether you want to go the pure science route, whether you want to go the engineering route, whether you want to go the technology route, and a variety of different things. We also have in here some really cool stuff, because you'll notice we have a big group. Okay, I'm not taking attendance today because my packets took attendance, and I know most of you from my other class, so that's going to be pretty good. So that'll help us out. So anyway, what we're going to be doing is I have some individuals in here that have lots of work experience. They're part of our P-Tech program, our process technology program, and so this is going to be a really nice blended class because these are people that you may end up working with, or then they have worked with engineers in the past and worked with professionals, and will tell you what drives us crazy, working with professionals out in the field. So one of the other things that we're hoping to do this semester, the wind farm people have offered to give us a tour. So I'm in the process of trying to get us a tour of the wind farms. I know Phillips will allow us to do a tour, so I'm in the process of getting us a tour out there as well. And if nothing else, I can get us a tour of a company called Epic, and they actually are doing electroplating of parts. So we're going to try and get some tours fit into that. So that's kind of what we're doing. So hopefully, whether you're an architect major, because I got a couple of you in here, if you are a traditional science major, such as heading towards physics or chemistry, I got a couple of you in here. I've got several of you that say you want to be an engineer. I got a couple of you there. And then I've got folks that say, I want to do the technology route and look at that. So I've got a couple of you guys in there as well. So we're going to be looking at a variety of different things. The class is going to be twofold. There's the part of exploring what it is that engineers do, what kind of tools that we use, how do we do it on a daily basis, and then some real life stuff, okay? So let's see, I want to raise the hands of everybody who's been to the Bell Experience, because I got 8 of you in here. What was one of the things at the Bell Experience did they tell you that you guys worked on?
Resumes.
Worked on resumes. What else? Interviews. What else did you work on? Independent learning. Those are things that, going forward as engineers, did they talk about reflection?
I think so.
Yeah, they talked about reflection. I'll tell you what happens to us when we get out of school. If you've been on a science track, whether it's the engineering track, architecture track, any kind of professional track, even if you're on the pre-med track. If you're on that kind of track, one of the things you find out, you go through school, You spend, and you spend all those hours during the week and go through school, and then all of a sudden the first thing that happens after you get a job, you go, oh my God, I go home at night. I don't have to study. Okay? I don't have to study. I don't have to study on the weekend. Oh no, I don't have a project that I gotta do at home. What on earth am I gonna do with this 5 hours at night that I didn't have before? Because we leave without a hobby. We leave, sleep. Yeah, but by then you're over that part. That's one of those things in college. That's what I said I would do. I go and sleep, and then I'm going freaking stir crazy. I'm going nuts. Because we don't have hobbies. We don't have that time for reflection. We don't have that stuff. And so that's one of the things that and when we talk to a job or an employer, one of the interview questions is, what books do you have on your bedside table? Okay. Do I have books on the bedside table? Okay, what was the last thing you did for fun? I'm an engineering student. I'm a science student. What's fun? Other than engineering, science, and playing in the lab, other than that stuff. What's your hobby? What's a hobby? Okay? Those are all, so they are actually looking for well-rounded individuals. They really are as far as job goes. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to look at that. So I'm going to pull up Blackboard here because this is going to be the core of our class. And you guys have some assignments in here to do and things like that. So you use your typical My Courses kind of thing. And then we get to Introduction to Engineering. And you're going to I hate it when it does this. It drives me crazy. All right. So under the syllabus, so we've got the syllabus. This grading scale, this is my traditional grading scale, folks. Oh, man. Gee, thank you. All right. Yeah, I am recording. I've got it recorded. All right. So I am using the traditional 90 to 100 is an A. I'm sorry, guys. I'm actually using the traditional grading scale in here. Darn it. Right? Darn it. Okay. As much as we hate it, engineers write. Scientists write. We all write. Okay? Because what is the number one thing that an employer wants? What? A hand? Now, number one, communication. We got to do communication, whether it's in an email, whether it's a text, whether it's something, we all have to do it. So, what we're going to end up doing, because this class is going to be very hands-on, we're going to be doing tours, we're going to be doing a lot of different things, and this is going to be you guys' class, okay? I'm a facilitator, and there's 38 of us between Enid and here. There are 38 of us, and in order for you guys to get out of this class what you guys need, you guys are going to help teach the class, all right? You guys are going to help teach the class because there are 38 of us. Actually, if you count me, there are 39 of us. That means there are 39 different career paths. No two of us are going to have the same career path. No two of us are going to have the same career path. And because of that, we're going to have different interests. We're going to have different things that drive us. We're going to have different job titles. We're going to work for different companies. We're going to work for different things. And so in order for us to get the most out of it, we want to know what those 38 or 39 career paths are. We want to know what those are because that's how we're going to find out different things. So we will be writing. So most of the class, most of your points, as you guys can see here, most of your points are going to come from memos. But I will drop 2 memos. I may drop 3. No, I'm dropping 3 memos. Because if something happens and you can't go on one of the tours, one of the memos is, what did you find on the tour? Kind of thing. That's the kind of memos that we're doing. By default, unless I specify otherwise, the memo is 1 page. Unless I've specified otherwise, the memo is 1 page. And over here, we'll come back to it, okay? Over here, Under class resources, there's the memo template. I've given it to you as a Google Doc, and I've given it to you as a Word document. So you've got the template right there. Okay? And when I assign a memo, I will tell you what I want to include it in there. But by default, it's one page unless specified otherwise. Okay? One page unless specified otherwise. For those of you who are out there and are doing the engineering side, there's the link to the engineering class resources, exam materials, just because I wanted to provide it to you guys. We're not using it in this class, but I wanted you all to have a link to that exam material, because several of you are headed towards taking the fundamentals exam. So there's the Google Doc. This is going to be very important. You guys are going to be very intimate with that particular thing. We're trying an experiment. Because I talked to Bobby Carson. And most of you know Bobby because she's the Blackboard guru on campus, both campuses. If you have a problem with Blackboard, if you had a problem with your sign-in, or you've had something in there, Bobby's been the person to go to. And I discovered when I talked to Bobby before the semester started that nobody uses a wiki. We're going to create a wiki in this class. That's how I said there's 39 of us, and there's 39 people that are going to provide inputs, and we're going to create a wiki for the class. And each one of you is going to ultimately be a curator of a wiki page in there. But all of you will be contributors to the various wiki pages. You may not contribute to each and every one of the wiki pages, but all of you will contribute to the wiki pages. And that's one of the grade spots that we'll get. So we'll get to that wiki page here in just a second. We'll see how that works. It's an experiment. Also up here, as I've attached a place that's got writing guidelines. So anytime if you need how to write a technical document, how to write a report, how to write something, that's a link for you. So that's under class resources. All of this is under class resources. So back to the syllabus. So we've got memos. We'll be doing discussion boards, okay, throughout the semester, and contributions to the discussion boards. There's at least 2 discussion boards that are going to be out there. One is TED Talks. So as you guys, I learn from everybody else, and I'm looking for good TED Talks and things like that. So you guys will be contributing to what kind of TED Talks that interest you on a variety of different things. And if you haven't done it and gone onto the TED channel and have them select a TED Talk for you, that's kind of entertaining. What TED Talk best describes you? That's a real entertaining. If you like to do polls or things like that, that's a real entertaining thing to do. Mine was very interesting when it came out. The planner, how we're going to do the planner. At the bookstore, they've got a Panda planner. We're going to use the Panda planner. I know some of you in my Engineering Physics 1 class last year, we used the Passion planner. But I went and looked, tried to find one that's bound, more bound than others. And so we've got the Braden, or Bryce here. Here's yours, Bryce. Panda planner. Mine's orange. Switch the document cam here. It comes through as yellow on my screen. Mine's orange. I don't know what color the bookstore. Did anybody pick one up at the bookstore yet?
It's black.
It's black. Okay. So mine is orange. I've been doing it. You have a 90-day undated one. We only ordered about half because you can find them a little cheaper than the bookstore out there. Amazon has them. I think the Amazon version is $24, $24.99. You can order it. So I'm not worried about you starting it this week. If you have one, go ahead and start it. If not, you can wait till you get it. But I want you to start it by not next Monday, but the following Monday, which is the 28th. And the reason I picked this planner, you're not going to turn the planner in. It's for you, okay? What I'm going to ask you to do towards the end of the semester is I'm going to ask you to come in and see me one-on-one, and we're going to kind of talk through the planner, talk how you used it, what worked for you, what didn't work for you, why certain things are in there, and then I'm just going to look to see that you've done it, and make sure that you've been keeping it and doing it. So this one, I actually have two because I started 90 days ago, and I actually marked on mine which one it is so that we can keep track. I actually have a number that's out there. The planner is broken up into a number of different ways. Let's see if I'm going to turn the light off because that one's blaring like crazy. Okay. When you get your Panda planner, and there are dozens of planners out there. There are day timers, there's the Passion Planner. We will use the goal setting page out of the Passion Planner because I do like that goal setting page. We will be doing that. But this planner is broken up. It has ribbons in it. So you've got your ribbons to keep you straight. It's broken up into 3 parts. And most of your day timers, your Coveys, your Franklins, depending on what method you use, are going to have very similar elements. This one will have a monthly. Let's see if I can focus in. So this is an undated monthly. So this was October. So you can actually do a month at a glance. Over off to the side, you can put notes about your big projects. Down at the bottom, you've got your month goals, the distractions to avoid. So if you've got something, say you're a video gamer, all right? And if you go home after classes to relax for a little bit and you start playing your video game and then you all of a sudden look up at the clock and it's 1 a.m. in the morning, you've had a distraction and you didn't get your homework done, you didn't get the right amount of sleep, you didn't get a bunch of that part of the stuff. So you may want to focus on a particular distraction. This part here, month's wins. You don't fill that out in advance. You fill that out at the end of the month or when a big win happens. You got an A on that test. You got that big project done. You got that job interview. Those are big wins that you can list there. And then, again, at the end of the month, you do some reflection, insights gained. So this is on a monthly or a bigger scale. As you go in, there are weekly planners. That was a slow week because that was in January. So let's go in to a week in the middle of the semester. So at the beginning of the week, what things are you working on? What are you looking forward to? A lot of you may have heard about a gratitude journal and how gratitude journals are pros and cons of gratitude journals. I've actually posted in week 1 things of why keeping a gratitude journal is actually beneficial. There's been an NPR story on it. There's a TED Talk on it. So look at things. Habits that I'm focusing on. What new habit are you working on? Because, maybe that habit is I'm going to get up every day at 7, or 5 a.m. I'm an early person. I worked too many years in a refinery. So I'm, making the extra shift. But you're going to get up 15 minutes early so you can sit and plan out your day. That might be the habit that you're working on. Then, learning something new. What's your passion project? Because most of us are focusing on school, but what's your passion project? I have a colleague who runs a gun shop up in South Dakota. And I got over Facebook that said, I can't go to work anymore. As of January 8th, I will no longer be at the shop. And it's his passion. So immediately I contacted him and said, what's going on? Turns out he's got a health problem right now that's not allowing him to go to work. And he's like, I'm going frickin' stir crazy. And I said, okay, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm just sitting there watching TV and it's driving me nuts. Again, he doesn't have a hobby. His hobby was his gun shop, right? That was his hobby. So I asked him, have you ever considered to write a book? And all of a sudden it was, well, who would want a book? I said, the guy shoots from horseback. There are no training manuals for anybody who wants to learn how to shoot from horseback, how to train the horse to do it. The guy handles more weapons than I know. So I said, why don't you write a book about some of the things that you do? And all of a sudden, the correspondence back and forth, it's a passion for him. But now we had to divert that passion a different way because of a health problem. So those are things that we want to look at. Top goals for the week. Okay, what's your top goal this week? Make it through the first 3 days, right? Yeah, pretty much. One of my top goals this week was making it for 30 days. So, and then you've got your big projects. They tell you it's hard to do more than 3 things and really get them accomplished today. So if you're a big list person, it's really, really tough. So this is on a weekly. I actually set an alarm at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon to say plan the next week. Because if I don't think about what I've got ahead of me, I'm not going to be able to do the things that I have to do on certain time schedules. So that's one of the pieces that are there. And then we have a daily basis. So on this one, we have things that I'm grateful for, things that I'm excited about, a daily affirmation or a daily quote, what's your focus, something on exercise, the big priorities. You have a daytime time schedule in here, and your big wins. This happens to be a Wednesday, so I actually made it to yoga class, so I'm doing really good. So that was a big win for me. And then you've got your tasks that are due there and any notes. So you got a prior day of reflection. So I picked this one because it had the gratitude journal in it. It has the major things that are in there, and basically it helps you out. If you work for an engineering consulting firm, this planner is not going to work because it's not in 15-minute increments. It's in half-hour increments. So I actually carried 2 different day planners when I was working as an engineer. One was just to keep track of my tasks that are out there to do it. I have done both electronic journals and paper journals. I prefer paper because it gives me that stop in time to reflect. It's a little more difficult to journal electronically, but there are ones that you can do electronically. But I do have my Google Calendar. I do keep an electronic calendar as well. But I look at my big things and put it on my day planner. So I want you to have your planners by the 28th and start on the 28th. The other nice thing about this one is in the back, it has note pages, it has places that you can do, and it also has a pocket so that you can look at a variety of things. But that's one of the things that we have to, as professionals, you've got to do those steps. And you get to a large corporation, if you start working for a large corporation, they say, okay, you got to have a time management class. First thing they give you in a time management class is your planner. And so your planner is going to be worth 100 points at the end of the semester. The goal page, we're going to be talking about that goal page here in just a second. Homework items, there'll be various homework items out of the book, a few other places, that's going to be in there. And the wiki is going to be worth 100 points as well. Oh, where's one of our big one? The part of the homework program is going to be, and there will be a midterm and a final. And we'll talk about those as we get there, just because I have to have some sort of objective place to put things. So that's where the grading's going to be.
What's the career college plan?
We're going to talk about that right now. Okay? We're going to talk about that right now. So if you go over under course material and under week 1, there's some information about your planner and planning, as we've been talking about. Okay? There's the gratitude journal. Here's a whole bunch of things on goal setting. Setting SMART goals, doing TED Talks, why New Year's resolutions fail, one simple habit, Fast Company. I love Fast Company. I've always been a member of Fast Company. It's a really great business and corporate type things. Why don't some of us have one calling? That is a challenge for some people, that they say, okay, I can't just focus on one thing. So this gal talks about how you can have multiple and do well at multiple things. So we're all individuals, and we've all been told ever since we were little, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they always make you focus on one thing. Well, we're not one-faceted people, and so that's one of the pieces that are there. So and these are kind of the things that when I'm talking about good TED Talks or good links or things like that for the discussion board, it's these kind of things that I'm hoping you guys are going to provide. And we all know there's a gazillion TED Talks that are out there. So, that's why you guys are going to be providing it. So now we'll look at each week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post expectations. Very much like what happens when you go through a business review. Your boss is going to say, well, these are my expectations for the next 60 days, the next 90 days, the next year, the next 6 months. These are my expectations for this week. So by next Tuesday, what I'm going to hope that you do is you try to obtain all your materials, okay? At least have your passion planner coming, or your Panda planner coming if you haven't already got it. Make sure that you've got it going there. I want you to complete the career assessment, and I'm actually going to open it up and show it to you here in just a second. I want you to make 2 contributions to the wiki, and we're actually going to go into the wiki because I'm going to tell you ahead of time a couple of different pieces. And then I want you to make a contribution to the TED Talk or blog. So let's start with the career expectations. So here's the career assessment. We're going to click on the career guide, and it makes you go to a different landing page. And it'll pop up here. And if you guys have trouble logging in, let me know, all right? Because you're going to have to create an account. I created an account as a student, so it's going to ask me for my username as a student. And it will pop up here. And this is the career guide. So I'm going to go back to the home page. Okay, so this is, when you come to the home page, this is a little different than the way it showed up on my screen. It will ask you to take an interest survey. All right. And I always wonder about these things because I've taken a gazillion of them. And I always wonder how accurate they're going to be. And what this one is, it's your assess when you take it and I want you to do all 3, but the one I want you to focus on is this first one. But it took me about 20 minutes tops to do all 3 assessments. I mean, and it's really one is it says I somewhat like really like totally dislike. Okay. So it would say, I would like to write a short story or an act, play in the act. I'm going, no, not my thing. Okay, I want to sew a dress, not my thing. I couldn't sew a straight line if my life depended on it. Okay, but it says, do you want to work on a car engine? Well, somewhat. Do you want to work in a laboratory, or what excites you? Going to finding a new discovery, playing with a microscope. All of those kinds of things, and it's a wide range. It's totally a wide range. Do you like to go for a hike, or would you rather sit down and play a video game? I mean, it's that kind of stuff, right? Then the next one is the career confidence or skills confidence, and it's very much like, I totally can do it, no way in heck. Okay, no way in heck. It says change a tire. Well, I can totally change a tire. That's no problem. I've been changing a tire for a long time. Showing a straight line, sewing a hem on a garment, not so much. It's not so much for me. Then it's like, can you do your own tax return? Yeah, totally can do my own tax return until up to a point. So mine's, you can get to. So those are the confidence for your skills. And then it's about, what do you value? I gotta have a job that I know is going to be there in 10 years. That's totally. I have to make a lot of money. I have to have a job that I do different things. That's the kind of questions that it asks. So, like I said, I wanted to validate it. So here we go, guys. So I'm going to show you mine. Look at the assessment. These are my results. It came up that I should be a health, safety, and environmental assurance person. For 35 years, I have been doing environmental compliance for refineries, gas plants, different chemical processing plants. I do audits of their environmental compliance systems. I write for a chemical health and safety journal. I think it was pretty accurate. I think the assessment was pretty accurate. It also says, I like to do with network systems. I look at a big picture. I'm a big picture person. So that one was pretty accurate. I was actually a little surprised at how accurate it was. Engineering technology for me came out fourth. So those top things really, diagnostics, I did a lot of analytical chemistry, yeah. So my assessment came out pretty well. So I think, given the questions, I was really surprised at how well it came out. So what's gonna happen when you complete the assessment, you can print out a one-pager. That's a summary. I want you to attach that one-pager to the memo, okay? I want to attach that one-pager to the memo so that I know you've done the assessment. Then up at the top, what you get is it says occupations to explore, majors to explore. Okay, so I clicked on occupations to explore. All right, 7 of them came up. I will tell you, a cytotechnologist was not a career choice that I'd ever heard of. Okay, it's one of those newfangled career choices. But down there at nanosystems engineers, most of those of you that have been with or dealing with my class for a while know that I studied colloids in my graduate program. That was nanotechnology before nano was something. So career choices are up there. Then it also talks about majors to explore. Okay? And there are 77 different entries. But now when we talk about what is an engineer, just on this first page, there are probably 5 types of engineering that you may never have heard of. There are a bunch of different things that are out there. So one of the things that we're looking at is, well, what the heck does an augmentative technology rehabilitation engineer do? What the heck is that kind of a job? I have a guess. Those are probably the guys that are putting your cameras on for your Viz glasses, right? Your Google glasses, maybe. I don't know. I didn't go any further than that. And part of what's going to happen is when you guys get me these memos, this is going to help us set up the wiki pages for different people to curate. So one of the things in your memo, it's like, hey, that job title sounded really, really cool, and I want to explore that. Put that in your memo because that may be the wiki page that you end up curating. Okay, that's one of the things that are going to be out there. So if I go back here to my career assessment, go back. What I'm expecting is you're going to create an account, you're going to do this assessment. I want your one-page memo. And in your one-page memo, I want an introductory paragraph that says outline what you expected to see. So you may want to write this paragraph before you do your assessment. What do you expect the results to come back as? What do you expect it to come back as? What do you think it's going to tell you? And how did this compare? And then how did it compare with your expectations? And then what occupations intrigued you and why? And thinking about if you wanted to explore, and you don't have to dive in, and I'm not talking about taking a half an hour to dive into a specific one or an hour to dive into a specific one. I want your first impression of, I want to know what that is, or I want to look at it, because we're going to have 16 weeks to dive into it. So that's what I want. So that's what it is. So go back up here to the career assessment thing. A couple of fun things just so you guys know where we're at. So these are skills, the skills that come in. But this is the one that may surprise you the most, is when you're looking for a job and you know it's a job that's going to fit you, the thing that has to fit me more than anything else is variety. That's why I was a crap researcher. I was not somebody who was going to be able to sit there and study the same thing for the next 25 years. It wasn't going to happen. I had to have variety. I have to have some way of moving forward on things. I have to have creativity. Look at what's at the bottom of mine. I didn't require job security. And I kind of laughed because I was always working myself out of a job. I was trying to eliminate my job. 9 times out of 10 within Phillips Petroleum, when it came down, it's like, you don't need this person anymore. You need a person, and you can combine these two jobs. You don't need to have somebody fill this job. I was always working myself out of a job. Income was not a big push for me. I want to live comfortably, but income wasn't a big push for me. That's also why I'm not on Wall Street. So, I mean, so those things, but look at what it does for me. I have to have a challenge. That's me. And knowing this right here tells you what companies you want to work for, whether or not you can work for a startup, whether or not you want to be in a big corporation, whether or not you can do it. This right here will tell you more than anything else. The other stuff's good, but this will tell you what kind of a way you want to live. And so this is really, really helpful. All right. So we got questions on what I want you to do on the assessment. You guys okay over there? Enid? You guys good? All right. So we're definitely, now let's look at the wiki. So underclass resources is going to be our wiki. And when you go to wiki, let's see if it's going to do it. Okay. Let's see if I can get this page down. Okay, there we go. When you open up the wiki, it will let you, the wiki that pops up right now is the commonly used acronyms. So we have wiki pages that are easy to contribute to. Okay? We have wiki pages, and I might need to make 2 contributions. This wiki page is easy to contribute to. Commonly used acronyms. You'll see that I've started the population. My request is that when you add to the wiki, that you, at least on this one, if you add to the wiki, that you put these in alphabetical order. All right? You put these in alphabetical order. And how you go into the wiki is I'm going to edit wiki content because I'm about to add an acronym that we want. It'll pop up. You've got a nice little table here where you can actually type in. I'm going to type in a new one, and I'm going to do APS because that happens to be another professional society, and that's the American Physical Society. And that's where the physicists hang out. That and IEEE, that's where the physicists hang out. And once you get there, you say submit, and we've got commonly used acronyms. So in here, we've got IT. What is IT? Information technology. COB, close of business. You got a question over there? Okay.
No.
All right. So commonly used acronyms. I've got in here the Code of Ethics. There are a bunch of Code of Ethics. What's purpose? I've just started some topics to have people contribute to. Job trends. You guys might find a really cool TED Talk that's got a good job trend on there. You might want to plug it in. Or an article comes out in the paper. Like, for example, there's an article here not too long ago that said the state of Oklahoma is going to be short 500 civil engineers. There's a dearth of civil engineers in the state of Oklahoma. So those are kinds of things that are in there. And then the book list. One of the things that they will tell you, and if you're a Star Trek geek, or you're a fantasy geek, or you're an Isaac Asimov geek, is those things that came out in Star Trek, which is really cool now to look at how many of those things that we actually have, that other than the transporter, don't have the transporter, but the communicator. Dick Tracy in 1920, the Apple Watch. Dick Tracy in 1920, the Apple Watch. Those technologies, a lot of them sometimes come from the minds of an artist. Interactions of different genres you don't normally think about are out there. So one of the things that we need to do is we need to expand our horizons and create a hobby. So I'm going to ask you to read a book. Now, there are a couple things. I'm going to open up the book list here in just a second so that I'm going to download it right now. So the list of approved books for the reading assignment. Those of you here on the Tonkawa campus, I have worked with the library. He's trying to pull together some of these. Some of these are harder to find than others. You may have to go to your local library to get some. Some of them you may ask a buddy around and they might have it. I have a few of these that I can loan out. So we've been trying to amass the books. If you are a member of the Oklahoma Public Library, most of the Oklahoma Public Library does have an online, it's called Overdrive, that you can get it electronically. Some of these are old, some of these are new. And as we go through the book list, you'll find that there's probably a genre that fits everybody. There's 64 on the approved list. I will warn you, I have not read all of them. I am working through them. I've read about a third of them. So I tell you right up front, one of the authors, I've read a couple of his, I haven't read the rest. So there is a variety of choice. I'm telling you this now because you're going to have the time to get the book, figure out which one, and it's first come, first serve because no two people can read the same book. Okay? No two people can read the same book. One of the blogs that's out there is your book choice. First come, first serve. So a couple things you want to do before you pick your book. One is make sure you can get a hold of it. All right? Make sure you can get a hold of it because some of them are harder to get a hold of than others. And then, you want to get out there and get it. So I've got the book here.
Where's the book choice?
Well, it's book list right here. Intro to Engineering, that's the book list. Eventually, once you've read the book, you have to provide a synopsis. And I'll show you where it's on the discussion list. Now, I am opening it up for a suggested book. Okay? If there's a book out there that's not on the list that you think I might approve, you can add the suggested book. And you can see I've already added a couple based upon discussions with some other collaborators out there that said, oh, I think you should, given what you have on the list, you should look at these two books or these other books. And so other books may ultimately be added to the list. So where your choice is under discussion board, favorite talks, there's your book choice. Okay?
Is that where we post which one we've chosen?
That's where you post which one you've chosen. So now let's open up the book choices here.
And what time will we need to have the book completed read?
I think I've got it towards right after spring break. So you've got time. I haven't actually set the date yet, but I'm encouraging you to get it ahead of time, but it won't be due before spring break. It will not be due before spring break. All right, so kind of things that are on the list. You will notice that there are fiction and nonfiction. There are career self-help books on here and not career self-help books. There are classics and non-classics. There are fantasy. There are science fiction. So, and I will tell you, I have been very specific about the Michael Crichton books that I have picked. So don't anybody ask me for a different Michael Crichton book. All right? I'm very specific about the Michael Crichton books that I picked. Because I've read everything that Michael Crichton has written. So, Set Phasers on Stun, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance is on here. Looking for Alaska is on here. Now, how did I pick the books? Some of them come from the Great American Read. Okay? Some of them come from the 100 books on the Great American Read. I actually searched blogs that said 10 books all engineers should read. 10 books all college students should read. There was one really cool on Wired that asked Bill Gates, what book would you recommend? Asked the Gossita asked what book he would recommend. A book Carl Sagan had recommended that people read. So I've gotten from a large, which is why I haven't read all of them. I've gotten them from a large group. There's a lot under here by Henry Petrosky. He's a great engineering. He writes a lot of good stuff, and his writing style is really nice. There's fun things like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. There's the one, yeah. Peyton.
If there's a book that we have already read, but we really, really like and want to read again and want to go ahead and call it, can I call it?
Yeah.
Can I call 1984 by George Orwell? I love that book.
Well, you got to post it on. You got to post it on the discussions. So I'm warning people that somebody's going to be up there getting 1984 by George Orwell. Okay. Yeah. So like I said, the ones I'm very specific for Michael Crichton are Airframe, Prey, and the Andromeda Strain. And I want you to go back to the book, not the movie. So The Martian. Okay. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein's on here. Dune is on here. The Stand is on here by Stephen King. And I've got some fun things. 7 Habits is on here. Salt, World History is on here. Germs, Guns, and Steel is in here. The Poison Squad. Yeah.
The TED Talks is the only discussion board that's posted for us.
We will fix that. We will fix it. Fix it right now. Okay, so I need to do an edit. Edit. Okay. Okay, I had a due date of the 29th for your book pick. And it should be available. Display. We'll do it right now. Display after 8:30. Should be available in a minute. So it should be out there, and it's 5 points for picking your book. And I have you make sure your book is picked by the 29th of January. So there is a due date on this one. Just as one other tidbit, it's any of the, there's one in here that's not just a single book. It's any of the, here it is. Any book from the Extraordinary Voyages by Jules Verne. Any one of those books. Yeah.
Question.
Mhm.
Foundation trilogy.
Mhm.
All 3 of those books.
The first one.
Okay.
Or if you can pick one of the other 2. Yeah, the Foundation trilogy and any book from the Extraordinary Voyages are the ones that I have as a group that's in there. Now again, if you can justify and ask me ahead of time, say, hey, there's a book that I really think would fit this kind of genre or what I've got here. And one of the questions is, why do you think I have the book on the list? So when you write your synopsis, it's why do you think I have the book on the list? Because I was very careful as to which books that I put in there. Well, it's not just entertaining. That's not just...
Inspired.
It's not, and they're not just inspiring. Some of them are creepy. Some of them are creepy. So that's where we're at. All right, so everybody knows what my expectations are for next week. Okay, because it's out there posted. So we're cool. You guys okay over there in Enid? And for those of you who aren't in my engineering or physics class, I will be on Enid on Friday time periods. I'm there on Friday all day.